MC for Free for RC podcast. This is part 3 of my 3-part OS Max 105 rebuild. So in the first 2 parts, we did the disassembly, the bearing changes, the front and rear bearing swap, and now part 2 was the rebuilding of it, getting everything back together. And now part 3 is going to be the upgrade, the HZR upgrade. So at this point, you should be very familiar with the motor. It's not a hard motor to work on. Once you work on this nitro motor, it's pretty much the same working on all the other nitro motors. I've rebuilt an airplane motor, 46, an OS Max 46. When you talk about YS engines, those are a little bit different because of the configuration of the carb and the regulator. But they're all kind of similar concept on how it runs. So I hope all these videos have been very informative and help you feel confident enough to do your own rebuilds when the time comes. Okay, so here comes the upgrade. Now, the upgrade consists of a couple of components here. The motor, obviously. Then your carb, your HZ carb, you're going to reuse. Oops, I moved the camera. You're going to reuse this, but you're going to take this needle valve off here, and basically the needle and then upgrade it. So the first thing I'm going to do is to button up the motor in the back. I'm going to do the back plate, or the cover plate they call it. Okay, so I'm going to take the cover plate, HZR cover plate. Now if you were just going to upgrade this by drilling it out, you could drill it out. I'm not sure the size, but you could get the nipple, figure out what size drill bit you need to drill out. Drill smaller, then you have to tap it because it's threaded. But since I bought the HZR, it's already tapped. So I don't know if I should put any type of Loctite. I will probably actually use a drop of red because I want to make sure this doesn't come off ever. You lose this, it's really bad. So I don't know if I'm supposed to use Loctite or not. I'm just gonna put a little drop of red. This looks like it's a 5mm. So I'm just gonna put a very small drop. Just a tiny dab of red and put it in there. I just want it to never come off. Okay, make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, so that should never come off, never need to come off. Okay, all right, let's move on. I'm going to reuse the O-ring and the 4 bolts that the original backplate used. Okay, so I'm just going to carefully use my nails to slide this one off. Carefully slide this on the new one. Okay. So when you put the back cover on, also when you take off the back cover, I didn't really mention it, you want to make sure that the piston is top dead center. If it's not top dead center, the piston is going to be in this groove and you won't be able to pull this out. But right now it's top dead center there, or TDC. I'm going to slide this in. And that should go right in. Should create a good seal. I'll, take it easy, but I'm going to slowly just move this piston down and back up. Make sure it doesn't bind. Okay, just one rotation. Alright, and then we're going to take the original bolts. Okay, and I'm going to tighten these suckers in. This is also 2.5 millimeter. And same thing, you want to go in the X pattern. You always want to go in the X pattern anytime you crank anything down. But right now I'll just kind of do a hand tight. Okay. And this is my final one, so this one's the one I'm going to crank down. Okay, crank, X pattern, crank, 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 and then I'm just gonna go around, make sure, you know, I'm not even using as much force, but just making sure that none of it slipped out or everything's seated right. Okay, and you see our back plate. Now we'll work on the carb next. I'm gonna put the washer. Make sure you have this washer. Do not put the fan right on, and then your locking nut. Okay, so I don't lose any of that. Okay, so now this part of the motor is all done. I'm gonna work on the regulator. All right, so when you look at this, your left one, you got your horn, your velocity stack. Okay, OS indicates the front of the motor. It'll be like this. And then the 61E, which is the model of this carburetor, is the back side of the motor. You don't want to mess with any of these things. You know, everything is perfectly smooth in there. All you got to do is you're going to work on this one needle. This is your high needle on an OS motor. Your mid and your high. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to unscrew this needle and pull it right out. So just keep unscrewing. You'll see it's going to come out. Get to a part where the threads aren't in anymore, and boom, pops right out. Be careful, don't drop this, don't get dirt on it. This is a cover for your needle so you have like where your adjustments are. I'm gonna also pull that off. This should just slide off. Might be kind of tight. There you go. Okay, now you have your needle housing here. This is an 8mm. Nope. It's an 8mm. You need a wrench. Let me go grab an 8mm. Here's my 8mm wrench. Okay, you want to get on right. So there's two flat spots. Right there. Two flat spots. One on each side. You want to get in on there. And then turn counterclockwise, break the seal. Okay. So I am going to replace this whole needle housing. It does have these washers that seal. I'm going to hold that aside. I'll put it in a baggie in case we ever need it. But I'm going to keep that aside. Also, what you can keep aside is this is what gives it the little clicky bits. And the clickiness to it. Don't need one because the replacement has a new one. So it has that and two washers there. So the needle valve holder. Let's grab that out. Okay. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna leave. This one is different. So this one only has a flat side on each side. This actually has a regular hex bit on it, or whatever you call it, a socket bit, or so that's different. All right, let's get the washers out. Okay, they're gonna go on each side of the regulator. So one's gonna go. Okay, there we go. So that's slid on. I'm gonna get the regulator. Okay, the way the regulator goes on is it goes upside down. Like here's the horn, it goes upside down like this. So I'm gonna put that on. It's gonna go like that. Okay, so I'll put the other washer on. Then I'm gonna screw this together. And I'm gonna do it by hand at first, and I'll tighten it down with the wrench. Okay. As far as the regulator, it shouldn't touch, but it should be fairly close to it. Okay. And you might need to adjust it once it's on the motor. So let's get this tightened down. You want to hold that and then give it a good crank. Okay, you don't want this to slip off, but you don't want to strip it or break it. But you want everything to seat and to be solid. Okay, so that's on there. I'm going to take the needle and put the needle back in. Okay. Now, if you see these O-rings being damaged in any way, you might want to replace them. Don't want to get dirt on them or anything. Okay. But this should be good. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset this to the default stock HCR needle settings. And the way I normally do it is I take this and I close them both, right? They're both closed. I move these things to where it will be on one of the lines, like that, right? So it's on one more click, one of the lines. Same thing for this one. I'll move it, doesn't matter really which way. Just the closest one, because it's kind of a pain to move. Too far. Okay, so you'll see that this line matches up with that, and this line matches that. Now, default OS 105 settings are 2.5 on the high, 2 on the mid. So you'll see here, go half, full, another half, full, that's 2, and then go half. Because this motor is completely rebuilt with new everything except for the crank and the crankcase and the carburetor and those parts, but you know, the piston, the things that have to mate together are new, so you don't want to, and this is going to be 2 full turns, so half, 1, half, 2. You want to go back to at least the stock settings. It's gonna be super rich, but at least at that settings, you know you're not gonna blow the motor by leaning it with the camera there. So yeah. So I'm gonna slide that in there, making sure that the round part, right, the cutaway part is there. Same thing for this side. I'm gonna put that, but I'm not gonna push that one all the way in. I'm gonna put the bolt in and get 1 thread on, just so that it's on there. You can see I could push it apart if I needed to. Some RTV on there for some reason. Okay. Alright, so now I should be able to put this carb on. Remember, the 61E is on the back towards the motor. The front has the OS logo. Okay. Okay, now there is like a little, it kind of twists in, which makes it a pain in the butt to get to this mounting bolt, but that's fine. What we can do is they can loosen this up later on and move it out of the way like this, bolt the motor in, move this back, tighten up this bolt. Okay, but I'm gonna put it back to where, kind of like where stock is, which is a little bit cockeyed like that. Just a little. Maybe that's too much. Yeah, just like that. Just a very slight angle to it. Tighten up the 2mm bolt here, which will compress those 2 mounting I don't know what they're called, whatever the mount thing is. Give it a nice tight, but don't over torque them. Here we go. And this is it. This motor is rebuilt and upgraded to an HZR regulated. Okay. Okay. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, hit me up. You can hit me up on freefallrc@gmail.com. Hit us up on the comments of this video post, or on YouTube, on Facebook, on RC Heli Hangouts. I want to thank the RC Heli Hangout crew. Frank Moradiellos for supplying the motor to work on, and the parts and stuff like that. So I will install a new glow plug, because you know, it'd be a shame you put this whole motor brand new back together and you put a glow plug that might be burnt out. And